Alright, we'll call the regular meeting on Tuesday, January 3rd to order. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda for tonight.
Council President, I move that we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, seconded to approve the agenda for tonight. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, the approval of the minutes for a regular meeting Monday, December 19th, 2022.
I move we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
The motion was seconded to approve the minutes for Monday, December 19th. Any discussion, other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, the claims against the city dated January 3rd, 2023.
I would move that we pay the claims against the city.
A second.
The motion on the floor, pay the claims dated January 3rd, 2023, seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, next on the agenda is swearing in the new council members. VOSS and John, here, repeat after me, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Thomas VOSS,
Do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support,
do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
and that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment,
and I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment,
or caused it to be done by others,
or caused it to be done by others,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations, guys. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the council.
Thank you.
Hey, nominations for recognition, certificate of recognition for Chamber of Commerce. In appreciation of your hard work for the 2022 lighted parade and your efforts were greatly appreciated. I know it was in kind of a timeline for you guys to kind of get this done, and I appreciate you guys putting your heads together and making this happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep, thanks.
That's all you want.
I'll make sure they get it.
Go up on the wall.
Okay, citizen business in writing, Wilson Plumbing Services, LLC, application of plumbing licenses. So the following request plumbers of contractor license, all fees have been paid, copies of their license, proof of insurance bonds have been provided for 2023. Contractor license, Wilson Plumbing Services, Master Plumber Wayne Wilson, Apprentice Brandon Wilson. all we have for this one.
I move that we accept the plumbing license for Wilson Plumbing Services LLC.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion on the floor, seconded to approve the plumbing licenses for Wilson Plumbing. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carried. No citizen business verbal. Next up is the mayor council member report. Heritage Park.
Oh, I didn't ask to have that added to the agenda, so I don't know that any advancements have been made, have they?
We have the resolution. Did you not get that email?
Oh, I must have missed it.
With the project grant resolution.
Oh, perfect.
So using the ARPA grant resolution, authorizing submission of the local government project ARPA grants application to the State Loan and Investment Board on behalf of the government body of the City of Newcastle, funding the construction of the Heritage Park project. So whereas the governing body of the City of Newcastle desires to participate in the local government project ARPA grant program to assist in financing this request, and whereas the governing body of the City of Newcastle recognizes the need for the request, and whereas the local government project ARPA grant program requires that certain criteria be met as described in the State Loan and Investment Board rules, regulation governing the program. And to the best of our knowledge, this application meets those criteria, and whereas if any of the disbursed grant money are later deemed not comply with the SLIP criteria, or the criteria of the American Rescue Plan Act, which is ARPA, the grant application fees to repay the ineligible grant fund within 15 days of such funding to the Office of the State Land Investment. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the City of Newcastle's grant application in the amount of $2,837,785 be submitted to the State Loan and Investment Board for consideration for the next board meeting for application processing to assist in the funding of the Heritage Park process.
This is a grant.
This is a grant.
100%, right?
I think that you-
I hope so.
So do we vote on this?
Yeah, we've got to vote on the resolution to basically submit the resolution for the grant money.
I move that we do that.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to, and seconded to basically sign and submit the resolution submitted for the Heritage Park. Any other discussion?
There's also a second, excuse me, Davey, there's a second page of that for certification. That also is for the resolution as well. So there are
Yeah.
two places for signatures.
The certification statement. Basically, the certification statement is the governing body of the City of Newcastle hereby certifies the funding being applied for under the local government ARPA grants program will be used in accordance with the requirements and conditions of the ARPA 2022 Wyoming Session Law. Chapter 50 of this chapter, it is determined that the funds were not used as intended. The recipient shall return dispersed funds to the office within 15 business days following the notification. Therefore, it is certified that I have read the information and evidence based on interventions and project demographics, distributions. If my project has either denotion, I have included the requirements and the dollar amount of the total project spending on this application towards evidence-based interventions and or project demographic distribution and the verbiage of this project description.
Okay, now do we have, it says here we have to get some people that name and title of persons that are designated authorized representative of the certification statement. So who wants to be a representative? Stacy is.
Yeah, Stacy.
Okay. I move that we add this to my motion, this resolution.
You add that to your,
I did.
send it to them.
Yes, I do.
So any other discussion to that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that resolution is passed. Thank you. I think this is gonna be a good project for the community, and appreciate the hard work everybody's done on this project as we move forward with it. Okay, next up is the Planning and Zoning Board. As you know, that you've gotten some information off of the Planning and Zoning Board, that there's vacancy, and some information that's been sent out from minutes and resignation. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Stacy?
I just wanted to have clarification as to if we send these letters that are being submitted for people that want to be appointed to that board, if we send that to the Planning and Zoning Board and they bring back their recommendations, or I just wanted some direction from the council on that.
I think that's a good idea, that they look at their applications to that board, to be able to send them back to us for approval, but that's my opinion, but
I do too. I think that's good.
So,
General consensus, yeah.
okay.
so I mean, he's the sole applicant. So I believe that, I agree that their board should be able to look at that. But then I also heard there's another vacancy.
With that resignation, Becky did contact the newspaper and ask for that ad to run again for another couple of weeks.
Okay, perfect. I'm good then.
And they'll know that we're running that ad so that they can potentially see more applicants in. Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the planning and zoning? Okay, next one up is chapter 56.
Thank you. So there's the question of liability has come up. So the Public Works Director had some reservations about using Public Works staff to cull the animals. So I did some calling, and it's looking like we're leaning more towards wanting to use law enforcement to do the culling of the deer in town. So I placed the call to Sheriff Colvard, and he was pretty amiable about it. He agreed that he thought that this was kind of a long-running problem, and that he'd be more than happy to allow his deputies to cull some of the deer in town. So we just need to wait for the chief to get back, and I think he's slated to be back on the 6th. And then we'll probably have a meeting with Sheriff Colvard and the chief to determine who's gonna be the lead on the permit. And then we just need to write up a scope of work plan. And then I guess the idea that we kind of came up with the public works staff is that they'd be available to take care of the carcasses when they're created, and then they'll be stored at the ball field shed until they pass the chronic wasting disease test.
Did you say, what was that?
Chapter 56. It's a permit that's issued through the state Game and Fish so that they can cull deer within city limits. And I also did some calling and found a couple more properties to add to the list of properties where we can place bait. And one of those calls was to the president of the country club. He said that he would need to run it by his board at the country club, but he thought that they would be fine with us placing some bait out at the driving range or something to cull some of those deer that populate the country club. So that's all I have to report.
Is there any effort to do something with the meat?
Yes, once it's passed, go ahead and.
Per chapter 56, the permit, the meat needs to be tested for chronic wasting disease. And once it passes that test, then the carcasses can be donated, first come, first served, whoever wants the meat. Needy family or just anybody who wants it.
Okay.
And then they're to process the carcass how they see fit. So either they cut it up themselves or they take it to the processor. Oh, go ahead, Walter.
Just a question of clarification. What happens if it does not pass the chronic wasting disease?
Then it needs to be disposed of in an appropriate landfill.
Okay.
So take it to the landfill. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Department head reports, city attorney, Bill Hughes.
I have, excuse me, I have nothing to report.
Any questions for city attorney? Okay. City clerk, treasurer, Stacy Harry.
As discussed at the last meeting, we were looking at what to do with some of our, especially in the police department, employees that are getting very close to maxing out their vacation accrual. I did touch base with Dublin, and he did recommend that if we did want to allow them to accrue more, we should probably have the council make a motion on that. There is nothing stated in the policy as of now if we are not allowed to pay them out if they so choose.
Myself, I think in certain circumstances that we've been in, I think it's a good idea that we would do that.
So I'm confused. There's something in that says that we can't pay them.
No, it does not.
It doesn't say.
No.
So we
But-
could pay out their leave, and then, or we could let them accrue more.
Correct, and I apologize, actually, the policy does state that the department head can approve them to accrue more. Sorry, I stated that incorrectly.
No, I think that's a positive thing, being the unprecedented situation that we've been in.
We need a motion to approve that.
Oh, well, I would move that we would approve increased vacation and comp accruals or payouts.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion seconded to increase the worker comp, or the comp paying and vacation accruals. Any other discussion?
I have a question. So, anybody can do that? I mean, we're letting it.
And that's up to you, the council. I would assume that anybody, I mean, most of the time it seems like, the majority of this is in the police department as of right now, because of being short-staffed.
Correct.
Obviously, Greg's Public Works probably may have that on occasion, but I don't have a lot of them are at that point right now.
Okay.
Besides Greg himself.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do I need to amend the motion to state specifically that we're doing it for the police department?
I think that would be a good thing, and two, I'd also put some language in there to say that it's also, that we're moving to be able to actually pay out the accrual of vacation time instead of actually having it roll over, if that's what's desired from the employee. If you can, I know that was a mouthful, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to run that by me again, Dublin. So I amend my motion but before we move on and I amend this motion, do we have any feedback from Public Works? Do you think that it should be fair for the Public Works to have the same thing?
Typically, we have enough staff that we're able to, good example, Jared Journey, and he's managing his by taking 2 or 3 hours off each day when he finishes his shift rather than taking care of other things. We've been able to manage ours with our staff, like Stacy said, under myself. So for the most part, we're able to manage it.
So you think it would be fair just to do it for the police department since it's
With their
a
current
special
situation.
circum? Okay. So I'd amend my motion to pay out police department vacation and comp accruals.
And is this temporary?
Until they're fully staffed, or until they're fully staffed.
Okay, so the amendment then was for the police department until they're fully staffed to pay out their vacation and comp accruals. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And the motion's carried. Anything else?
The other thing I have is, I talked to Nakona Cove today with the Recreation Board, and she is requesting that they have the availability to get a debit card due to the fact that they, just to attach to their current checking account. Due to the fact that if they have to shop anywhere out of town for things that they can't get in town, and they can't write a check. However, the bank told her that to do that, they would require a letter from the council or from the mayor. So to submit that letter on the council's behalf.
That's a 2-signature bank account.
That's why they would need a
So
letter
you
from
go
the
with your credit
council.
card, you're gonna have one signature.
And then the bank account is not the city's bank account, right? It's the record board's bank account,
Well,
correct?
technically, they're an extension of us.
Right.
So,
We give them money
It's our
basically
money.
to do things for the community, and then they're spending that money based on what they need, whether they're writing a check or they don't need our authority, I guess, to write the check for that piece. So I'm wondering how that is still coming into play with a credit card. It's still off of their same account that they're pulling the checks out of, right? It's just not requiring the 2 signatures in
And
the
I
check.
think that's why they need the letter from the council.
That's it.
I move that we allow that.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, seconded to draft a letter then for allowing the rec board to have a debit card for their checking account. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. That motion is carried.
That's all I have.
All right, any questions for Clerk Treasurer Stacy? Okay, moving on, Public Works Supervisor Greg Stone.
Thank you, Councilman Stevenson. First thing I'd like to bring up, Jeremy Deal has completed his probationary period of 1 year. I recommend him for full-time status and a 50-cent raise for completing the probation.
I move that Jeremy Deal, having completed his probation, receive a 50-cent raise
And permanent status.
and permanent status.
I second it.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, seconded to offer full-time status to Jeremy Neal with a 50-cent raise for completing probation. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Next item I have is the South Summit Water Line Improvement Project that we've been working on. We opened bids on the 22nd. Engineer Kenny Rathman and engineer Cole Scheller here to just answer any questions about the bid process. We did have an issue with one bidder, which took them out of the low bid and made them the high bid. The recommendation is to move forward with awarding the bid to Hot Iron out of Gillette. Their bid was $318,607.52.
So it looked like some kind of a grammatical error, or not a grammatical error, but a
Clerical error.
clerical error, because they just moved the decimal point over.
Unfortunately, that does happen. In the bid package, there is Article 14 addresses how to deal with those. And I might turn to Kenny here to let him explain if you have more questions about that portion of it.
I read some of the highlighted, but I mean so it goes from being awarded to like a local company to Gillette, and then we have to pay the mobilization fees and everything to get the guys over from Gillette. There's not anything we can do about it due to just a clerical error.
You asking me, Tyrell?
Well, I think so, Kenny.
Well, the state statute that requires cities and towns and counties and so on and so forth to bid anything over $35,000 in a competitive bid, you can't just go hire somebody to do it. There's a reason behind that, and we've got language in the contract documents that explains how to deal with the circumstance where you have mathematical errors. And there's two places in the documents that describes different parts of that. Primarily what it says is in the circumstance where you have a unit price bid, which is what this is, and there's a mathematical discrepancy between the quantity of something and the unit price and the total. And in this case, it's basically replacing sod that's going to be disturbed, and we've got a quantity of 6,000 plus square feet, and we've got a unit price that they multiply times that gets the extended cost. The contract document states that in the event that you have something like that the discrepancy is resolved in favor of the unit price. And what happened, and it's pretty obvious because you could see what the other bidders had approximately for sod, and you know it shouldn't be $210 a square foot. And it's really not up to me to assume what they meant, but it's up to me to make you a recommendation based on what the contract document says you do under a circumstance like this. They wrote down 210.00, and it's not what they meant to do, but it is what they did. And the contractors were talking about, the Farnsworth was the low bid at that point when you just read the numbers, and their bid was
$317.52.
And then Hot Iron is a contractor out of Gillette. Their bid was $318,000 and change. Our engineer's estimate was $323,000 and change. And quite honestly, that's amazingly close. Typically, you're hoping that your bidders are within, on a $300,000 project, within $50,000 of each other, and then it looks reasonable. But the circumstances is, all I'm doing is making a recommendation based on the documents and how it says that you are supposed to do that. You guys don't have to follow, or you can follow my recommendation. I had talked with Dublin last week just to make sure that I was interpreting the documents correctly, and I don't know if he has anything he'd like to say about it, but
Under the circumstances, it's unfortunate that the the discrepancy showed up there, but it does state unit price as the deferral, which means that that 210 is what it's deferred to. And just from representing the city's position here, that to award it to Farnsworth after they gave a bid that's much higher under that statute, it gives Hot Iron a pretty good case to come back and say that we were playing favorites, we're doing something that we weren't supposed to do under that said statute.
What's the chances of throwing out all the bids and say, we're going to do this by 10 feet, by 10 feet, by 10 feet, and we hire them for $30,000 each time, and we just pay Farnsworth the money?
You can't do that either because the total project is over that 30,000. If it was separate projects legally, we could probably do that, but that'd be us into another case.
Well, I guess all I can say is that I bet they don't make a clerical error like that again in the future.
Just for the council's understanding, Kenny and I, Dublin, have kind of poured over this for the last week to make sure we had all our ducks in a row and that there wasn't another way out of this. Of course, we talk about a local contractor versus somebody from out of town, but with the way the documents are set, there's really nothing we can do. Our hands are fairly well tied. So.
And I will say that either one of those contractors are fine contractors. We've worked with both of them with similar type working projects, and I would have no problem working with either one. So that's not an issue.
Having worked construction, I mean, it would be better not to have to pay the mold fees and everything, even though
Well, but
the
Tyrell,
bids came in pretty close.
they both, the mobilization is part of those bids. It's included in those bids.
Okay.
So the total, the total cost of the work in the end was going to be, if it was written down right, within $150 of each other for a $300,000+ project.
And when I read that section C of that unit price, I felt that this contradicted itself. Because like you said in the first sentence of that, it was said in favor of the unit prices, but if you read the second sentence, discrepancies between indicated sum of any column of figures and the correct sum, therefore, will be resolved in favor of the correct sum. So the $210 per square foot didn't equal the sum in the column, but also in the sentence ahead of that said if it had a discrepancy, it would go back to the unit prices.
Correct.
Yeah, so it kind of contradicts itself in both sentences. So that's what I picked up on in pieces of this.
Can I interject, Don?
Yep.
I had read that, the way I interpret that statement, and for everybody's, can I just read that section so everybody can hear it? It says, and this is under the section under the information for bidders that is comparison of bids. Discrepancies between the multiplication of units of work and unit prices will be resolved in favor of the unit prices. And then what Councilman Stevenson's talking about is the next sentence says, discrepancies between the indicated sum of any column of figures and the correct sum thereof will be resolved in favor of the correct sum. I think that has to do with adding incorrectly to get to the number at the bottom.
Is any column.
Pardon?
The words say any column, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, and there's only one column on the bid worksheets that gets total at the bottom, and it's the extended prices at the bottom. But that's my interpretation, was that last sentence had to do with somebody that didn't add correctly and get the right number at the bottom.
Okay.
So,
And I was thinking with what little bit of money we're talking here, $1,000 from the two different pieces of this, and not having to worry about trying to figure out splitting hairs between what is defined, that I'm also in that same favor of the hot iron bid.
Kenny, am I understanding this correctly? If you added it up in another way, the Farnsworth comes out ahead? On a different, on a correct number that they didn't misprint?
No, the way they totaled across on that one item, they had 6,680 square feet times $210, that gets you $1.4 million for putting some sod down, which is clearly not right. But they wrote down $14,000. In actuality, it would have been like $14,002 if they'd wrote $210 per square foot. So when they totaled their numbers, they come up with $317,000 in change. When you correct the sum total of that one line, based on what the multiplication comes out, if you use the 210, the unit price that was written down, all of a sudden, instead of $317,000, it's 1.7 million.
Okay, I got you.
It clearly was not intended that way. But like I said, it wasn't up to me to interpret what I think the contractor's intent was. So that's why my recommendation was.
Just makes it very, very important that when bidders are putting these together, that they're going through each line item and verifying it before they submit.
Okay, so for clarification, one final clarification, we're kind of tied based on that one clerical error. So we need to make a motion to award the bid to Hot Iron out of Gillette.
Yeah, in regard to the discrepancy paragraph, I think Councilman Stevenson is right in terms of it contradicting itself. But just under the circumstances, it's just the safest play to, I would say, to move to award it to Hot Iron.
So I move that we award the bid to Hot Iron Construction out of Gillette.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to award the South Summit Waterline Project bid to Hot Iron for $318,607.52. Any other discussion?
Yes, I mean, I would prefer to give the bid to Farnsworth. They're part of our community, and I worked there myself, and I would like to see them get the bid, but if council's telling us that we have to give it to the other guys to avoid any kind of a kerfuffle, then I'm kind of sad to do that, but.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
What's the worst thing that could happen if we give it to Farnsworth?
We could be in lawsuit.
You could be sued.
We get what?
You could be sued.
We could be sued. Are we insured?
Yeah, but at the same time, if I can avoid getting sued, I think I'll do that.
Is it worth $1,000 to go to a lawsuit for that? You know, I'd prefer a local contractor myself, but.
It's not $1,000, it's $300 and some odd thousand for our community.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, we got 1 nay, 3 in favor. Okay, passed. Anything else, Greg?
You'd asked some questions about the ARPA grants.
Yeah.
What all we put in for. We did put in for, or we are putting in for, actually, several ARPA grants plus looking at some SRF projects. Concerning the ARPA grants, after sitting through some of the meetings they had discussing the projects, there are 3 main points that were important to the school board and everybody involved. First one being the shovel-ready project. That's why we're having Kenny work on these projects ahead of time to get us plans like 7th Avenue. We'll have a shovel-ready project by the time they start awarding projects. Another one of the ARPA grant requirements, or not really a requirement, but what they want to see in the grant is they want to see us do rate analysis and rate increases if necessary to be sustainable. To be able to pay back not so much the grants, but the loan portions if we have loan portions. Which Stacy and I are currently working with Wyoming Association of Rural Water Systems to complete a rate study. So we can give you a suggestion on what to do with their rates. The other thing they really want to see is us have some skin in the game. They want us to see us putting our money into grant matches if there is a match. So one of the bigger things we've been working on is trying to get a better status and be able to get a higher ranking in their system to get the grants. But we have put in for the Delaware York water main replacement, 7th Avenue water main replacement, Duff Avenue sewer main installation and replacement of the Gray Addition sewage lift station is 3 of the main projects we're working on.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to be sure what was out there for grants and, some of the priority things that we've seen in the last several years.
Yeah.
Getting those done, completed, we'll keep having problem areas, and I want to get those taken care of if we can with these grants.
We did receive some money, and I'm not sure what all was involved with this, but I did notice in the drinking water intended use plan that we now have $100,000 in the grant, strictly for lead service line surveys and requirements. So I've got to do a little more research on that, find out what all's involved with it, what stipulations there are to this money. But we did have, looks like the state did give us some money through the BIL, so we can move forward doing our inventory and taking care of some of that stuff. So.
Okay.
So, for clarification, this last round of ARPA, the local government, ARPA grant, that's what all of these projects are put in for right now?
Yeah, the ones I mentioned, we do have.
The 100%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have some other projects that are out there, but they're already listed on the drinking water intended use plan with the state SLIP board. So, I don't know as if we can use the money for those since they're already listed.
Oh, since they're already on the intended use plan?
Yeah. Yeah. But we are moving forward with some of these others, so.
No, I'd love to see any of these projects go through and be funded with 100% grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Not unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Public Works Supervisor? Okay. On the police department. I haven't seen anything, got any information that you guys. So, no news is good news, right?
You'll be here this week.
Yeah, I'll be back this week, and we're gonna get with you and see what our plan moving forward on applications and everything for officers and that. Any standing committee reports?
Just a question.
Yes.
That I see your orange piece of paper there, we used to put our committee assignments on that piece of paper. Are we assigned yet?
Not yet. The mayor usually does them, so that when she gets back, she'll sit down.
You could get it done before.
Oh, good. All right. Any other business for the council?
I have any other business.
Okay.
So on the December 5th meeting, I implored the mayor to look into the either town administrator or grant writer position. It's still kind of hovering out there. I mean, I think that that's something that we really need to put some emphasis on and try to get it done in the near future. I even asked her to put me on the personnel committee or whatever we needed to do to start moving, forward with trying to fill that vacancy. The mayor said something at that meeting about how she would like to see, she was doing some research to have that position double as a kind of a emergency manager. I don't personally agree with that assessment. I don't think that we need, that's getting a little redundant in my opinion. I feel like we have an emergency manager for the county. We live in the county. I don't really think that, convoluting an already very complicated job with further duties is necessary. So I think that we should just try to put some emphasis on trying to get that position either filled, or if we're going to find another engineer, whatever we're gonna do, we need to get it done soon. This has been going too long, just like the police chief. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree. We've got some help in the office right now, but I think that's only just a temporary deal. And I know last week, at the last meeting, I was gonna go through some of the information you got and try to come up with some type of a scope of work for that person. But I don't know if anything's been put together, or I haven't seen anything.
No, so just like I stated the last time when I brought up the town administrator position, which I feel personally would suit our town the best. I got job descriptions from several towns, and then I even implored the mayor to speak with the city administrator for Gillette. He's supposedly a very knowledgeable man and could kind of break down how the position works for. There's also several other city administrators that I spoke with across the state, one of them in Kimmer, and then one of them was some project work through my work in Afton. But I think they all do a great job, and they would kind of fit the bill for the size of our town. And anyway, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I feel like we need to get moving on this.
Okay. I also do, because I think we need to get something definite put in that position instead of support what we need. I don't really think that an engineer at this point benefits what we're needing.
Yeah.
I might reach out to that Gillette city administrator and ask some questions of him.
And I agree with Tyrell. I think we need to get on it, and, we just need to move forward if we're gonna get some stuff done around.
Well, as it stands, Darren Downs is the only member of the personnel committee, so get after them.
Yes, sir.
We gotta get this.
So when the mayor gets back, I might reach out to her and see if she's got any status of it. Like I said, I might reach out to a couple of other locations to get some feedback. See what our next direction should be on this. Okay? Any other business?
I have nothing further.
Okay. All right, if nothing else, adjournment's in line.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Get a motion to adjourn, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Adjourn at 7:49.